Fun story, those of you who follow us on Instagram will know that I got myself a new set of wheels to access some epic drone locations that are hard to reach here in Spain. So here was the plan. Stick the new bike in the back of the car, drive 200 kilometers across Spain to a location where I can fly legally, cycle for an hour, and then film some incredible, crazy maneuvers with the Mavic Air 2 as I'm riding in the middle of drone paradise. So far so good, everything's going to plan. I arrived at the deserted hotel, middle of nowhere, and grabbed some really cool drone shots before the sun went down. I set my alarm for an early start, woke up before sunrise. I have to say that doesn't happen often. Got myself a great drone shot of the location, then got out on my bike, no time to waste, and was rewarded with these cracking HDR shots at the start of my journey. With everything going to plan, it was time to up the ante, so I continued my cycle. I was about 45 minutes in, and in case you didn't know, it's quite difficult to fly a drone and cycle at the same time. So as per the original plan, let's get some active track going and get these big spinny cool parallax shots. Well, that was the plan at least, but I could not get the flipping app to lock onto me as a subject. Now, I specifically wore a bright red jacket to make it easier for the active track to latch on, but these things just happen, and the only issue I had here was that I was in the middle of nowhere. I drove for 4 hours and cycled for almost an hour by this point. Added to that, by the time I faffed around trying to get active track to work, I'd wasted the remainder of my first of only 2 batteries. I was, after all, on a bike. I wasn't in a position to carry thousands of batteries and backup drones and all the rest of it. Added to that, I was having a problem with my phone, or the app, I'm not sure which, but when I did get active track to sort of work, the phone would basically crash and it would make me think that I was still filming when I wasn't. It was weird and it was extremely frustrating. What do you do? I don't want to waste the trip. I only had this one opportunity. Well, we've got to think like a filmmaker. So as I said, cycling whilst flying a drone is not exactly a very comfortable thing to do. I managed it, but I wouldn't exactly recommend it. If we fly like filmmakers, however, we can take a simple hover shot and then introduce our subject and turn it into a storytelling shot. Check this out, we start with an empty frame, that's a bit boring, but in comes the subject. We create some motion and interest by having that take place within the frame. Same here, we're just hovering, but we reveal the subject. It's a storytelling shot, and there's some suspense here. Was I just showing you a shot of this kind of boring landscape? No, I was setting up the introduction of the hero, the talent, the superstar, if you will, me on this red bike going along about 1 mile per hour for fear of falling off on the rocks. But you've got to make the most of any given situation. Now, sure, it would be great to spin the drone around and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes this is the right thing to do. It's not always just a plan B or a backup plan or something that you have to do if everything else has failed. It can actually be the right thing to do and the best option at any point in time. Here we have Bruce Lee coming in from the left of the screen. We weren't just seeing a shot of the gate. In comes the rickshaw. Our hero is presented to us and out he comes. Now, yes, there was a little bit of a tilt down, but we'll show you that you can do that too. As a bonus tip, you can actually add some motion to these shots in post-production. You can zoom in and zoom out, and you could even add a little bit of rotation if that's appropriate. So you can create some three-dimensionality even just with a static hover. If you haven't done so already, grab yourself a copy of our free ebook From Drone Zero to Drone Hero, 37 Tips to Get You Flying Like a Filmmaker. We explain to you our 5-step framework for creating cinematic footage. You have to try and create some suspense, and that's exactly what we're doing here. You don't lay all your cards on the table in the very first shot. We start off with a shot of a landscape and in comes our subject. Now, if possible, you're going to want to add some depth. You layer different foreground, midground and background elements in your shot. You want to understand light and make sure you have some nice lighting. That can be easier said than done because we can't control the position of the sun, but we can plan for it. You also want to use motion effectively. Now, in this instance, we're somewhat restricted in terms of what we can do with the drone. I'm telling you, just hover it, but we have motion in the form of our subject being introduced into the frame. And ideally, we can add some compositional concepts, and we have some leading lines or some diagonals or rule of thirds and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, you've got to get the ebook to find out more about that. But the beauty of this is that even with all this adversity, we were still able to create some pretty nice shots. I say we, actually, it was literally just myself in the middle of nowhere with one battery remaining under fairly tense and frustrated circumstances. You can do the same. Is it the only drone shot that you ever want? Well, no, of course not. You want to be able to have access to rotational movements, tilting gimbals, all that kind of stuff. But certainly as a solo drone pilot and adventurer, it's the only drone shot you ever need if you get yourself in a bit of a pickle or you're doing something else at the time, like windsurfing or, I don't know, cycling your bike or skateboarding or whatever the case may be. Follow this template, the boring static hover, but reveal your subject. Now, of course, if you really want to get into this, do check out our 8-hour drone cinematography masterclass. It's a big subject and we cover it in depth in our famous course. Short video today. I wanted to share with you a little experience there. I think there's a little kind of lesson there, learn from my mistakes or my problems or whatever you want to call it. Pleasure as always to talk to you, and we will see you next time here at Drone Film Guide.